So, my original idea was to make a 200-page, 10-chapter, terrible romance novel that is basically smut, but in the eyes of a middle-aged white woman who probably doesn't understand anatomy, and just see how it does. Because I used to write fan fiction, and so I know how to write, like, romance, and I know how to write it well, and I know how to write it badly, but um it's hard to get ideas, if that makes sense. And I'm on Lexapro, so it's very hard for me to do anything I want to do without feeling the obligation to finish it. And I just wanted to have some fun with it. So I started researching romance novels on Apple Bookstore, which is just chaos. It's Steam but for books. And so I kind of fell down a rabbit hole of this one specific book series. It's called the Harem Book Series by Casey Cross. And I just want to talk about book one right now because I don't think I can get into any of the other books because that's too much to think about. The title of book one is very telling of the entire book because the title is Booty Hunter, and that's why I picked it out originally to do some research, but I kind of unironically fell in love with the series. The thing is that this is the first book that I've read fully since I read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment last year for my AP English class. If you want to gauge what type of literary freak I am, this is basically it. I don't even know how to start this because it's not the worst book I've ever read. There are two different types of bad books. There are bad books, and then there are bad books that are overhyped, like The Old Man in the Sea. He just goes out to the sea and fishes for whatever. And I remember one time my teacher saying that that was an allegory for Christ, and I remember looking at her and being like, ma'am. So I wouldn't say Booty Hunter by Casey Cross is a bad book. I think it just exists in the continuum of white woman fantasy. Booty Hunter by Casey Cross follows Serpent and Lyre. Lyre? It's the type of instrument that Apollo carries around, so I'm not very sure how to say that, but it follows these two aliens as they navigate love on a space station that is also called a harem. For some reason, Casey thinks that it's a brothel. I don't think it's a brothel, but this space station is definitely a brothel. At first, I thought it was just like a pit stop that also had a brothel in it, but no, it's like a giant city, which is kind of cool. I like that. But it also like kind of is a morally gray area, and not just because it's like where all the outlaws go. It's because they have sex slaves, but then they also like not condone other alien species and how they treat their people, and they don't condone dictatorships, yet they have sex slaves. So now, I don't know how to explain the main characteristics of the two main characters without being crude. So if you're any of my old English teachers or my mother, I'm gonna have to ask you to not watch the next 5 minutes, because I don't want to have to ever look at you in the eyes again knowing that you've seen this video. So Lyra is a Cynigan princess, and the thing that makes them so special and the thing that makes them so desirable to men, specifically they are kidnapped to be prostitutes at this space station. The thing that makes them so desirable is that when they finish during coital acts, they glow. Usually they glow like silver or something. They just like glow. And then there's like layers of it. So there are like the pink princesses, which is Lear, and they glow pink. And they have like pink eyes and pink hair, and they're like the top of the top. And so the species that she's part Sinnigan or whatever, they're part of this like empire that's super secretive and nobody really knows anything about them. And I like don't really understand it either, but they're bombs. The princesses, they're bombs, and which I think this whole lore aspect is kind of cool. They're weapons. They manufactured these erotic women to be desired by specifically the alkaline man, who I will get into, to be desired, and then they go off and then they blow up. And so I think that's very cool. And there is this weird through line about femininity and independence. When I first read this, I thought it was written by a man. I thought a man wrote this just based on the amount of times that Lear's boobs were described as ample, but no, Casey is a woman. You can see that through Lear's thinking as she realizes that that she wants to be her own independent woman, which is kind of good, but then there's also like BDSM. So Serpent is our honorary tough guy. He is a bounty hunter. His ship is the Booty Hunter, and he and his 7 brothers found this space station, and the space station basically has like an AI god called Alcor. And Alcor can hear everything. He's programmed everything to make it safe. And so they were the ones that made it into like a brothel city for like the it's basically Rome. The the foundation of a harem station is Rome. The Romulus and Remus story. We start with Serpent coming back from a dangerous mission of getting one of the princesses because they had to replace one, and his brother died and his favorite robot died, and his ship got really messed up during it, and so he's like really pissed. He wants to get blackout and he wants to have some fun with a princess. There is a very important aspect to this, is that the 7 brothers are not really brothers. They are also genetically engineered to be like ruthless, if that makes sense, and they're all alkalins. And the cute little quirky thing about them is that they have 2 dicks. They have 2 penises. And I also am a little concerned for Casey Cross as to if she understands human anatomy, because during the smut scenes there are some very graphic details that I don't think anatomically can happen, but I don't want to get too into that. See, the thing is about Lear is that she's trying to hide the fact that she's a pink princess because that status is very desirable, and so there is this like weird chemical in her body that's called like a luminous flux, which shows off her glow. She like suppresses it, so she needs to get it out, you know. There's a lot of biological technicalities in this that I feel like you should experience yourself to understand, because I don't think that's very family friendly, and I'm trying to keep this as family friendly as possible. Another interesting through line through this is the idea of slavery and how you view technology. Lear finds it very odd and alien, pun intended, that they see bots and ships as humans, that there is a sense of humanity within Alcor and the Booty Hunter, and that is very weird to her. But to Serpent, it's not weird. That's the life he grew up in. That's another philosophical thing that Casey Cross kind of tries to push across, but I don't think I can emotionally go into that. a first introduction to Lear is that she's bound to a wall and is being assaulted by a cyborg and pretty much Serpent. And I can't forget that, and neither does she. Every time she sees that cyborg, she always points it out. And I think they all kind of gloss over it really fast, and it makes me very uncomfortable. Within the first day of knowing each other, Lear becomes Serpent's slave, which is like I guess a routine thing up on the harem. And she has to wear a collar throughout the entire thing with his name on it, which also makes me very uncomfortable. So she becomes a slave, and then she is forcibly pierced on all of her genitalia, which is another thing that I feel like went a little too far. The Serpent leaves to go check up on his ship, and she has to clean his house, and every time she goes over the time limit, she gets shocked. I'm not very sure how I made it through their first day, but I did. So he goes and checks on the ship. She tries to devise a plan in order to get more ingredients to hinder her glow and convince him that she's not really a Cygenian princess, so then she can leave. And she was taken away from a station to the harem, away from her sister, who is the bomb that will go off sometime, supposed to go off, I should say, and when one goes off, the other one goes off too. So she needs to get to her sister before her sister goes off. She then tells Serpent that she thinks that she is getting an infection from the piercings. So he takes her to the doctor's office, which the robot that was basically whipping her and assaulting her was the doctor, and notably, like, obviously she was uncomfortable with him being there. So then they go at it in the doctor's office, and so she glows for him. And then they're kind of infatuated with each other, but she's still kind of like, I'm just trying to get through the day, I just want to leave. And so then that night they go to bed. They're having this very intimate moment, and he's like telling her like, oh, my brother died, and she's like, I've been having like a terrible day. And then they go at it again. It just kind of happens, and I just kind of skipped through it. And then all of a sudden he tells her that he loves her, which he identifies as out of character. And then all of a sudden they start to think that they're soulmates. And so the second day that they know each other, they go out for breakfast, and they have to go to his brother's funeral. And she goes, and for some reason she's like dressed to the T. She's in this like glittery dress, and there is some attempt to make like a culture within these people, but it just kind of feels like somebody is kind of into bling and wanted their self-insert to be blinged out. So the service happens, it's beautiful, she cries pink tears, blah 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 blah. They get back to his room, and they go at it again. So something that I kind of forgot to add is the reason why his brother died was because he stole one of those princesses for his other brother Crux, and the youngest brother ended up dying in the battle getting the princess to Crux, and this princess is Crux's soulmate, but they can't thaw her out because she has like a tracker on her, and then they find out that she's also a bomb, so she would go off if they thawed her out. And but she's the queen of the Singerian, I don't know, people, and so that's another thing, but they just kind of like write it off. there's like shopping scenes, there's like ooh and ahhing of the station, and then all of the brothers decide that they are going to go to the station where Lyra's sister is and get her back. And Lyra's like, I want to go with you. I've been trying to do it by myself this entire time. Let me help you. And he's like, Serpent's like, no, you can't go. I want you to be safe. I don't want to lose another person. Mind you, this is the third day that they've known each other. So she stays, and she has this little robot. His name is Prince. I kind of like him. And then the booty hunter, which is now online and like up and running, basically calls her, and it's like they're setting them up. And so she goes on the booty hunter, and they go out and they're trying to race to the station that her sister's on before they do, just in case if they get hurt. And at the same time, they're finding out that the Alcaran men and the Siriginian women, they are genetically made for each other because some random science thing that I don't understand. And so there is like this problem of that the Alkaline men haven't been mating with the Siriginian princesses, so there isn't any purebreds. And so then Serpent kind of says something gross about like putting babies in Lyra, but she seems into it. So they get to the gate where the station is, but immediately the station is like blown up by a Siriginian ship. And at the same time, the booty hunter gets there, and they see her sister's frozen body, like in a cryo thingy. And so she goes out, and she's like, I'm gonna go get the body, and then explode the ship. But at the same time, Alcor AI has decided to try to take the ship over. And so it's like this rushing moment, and Serpent's like, oh my god, she's gonna die, she's running out of oxygen, and then everything's fine. The ship blows up because Alcor is like, I'm gonna blow it up. And then she's like out in a coma, and that's basically book 1. And then at the end, there's this weird scene where the booty hunter is personified in a virtual world, and she is with Alcor the AI, and he survived somehow. I don't know. But I think the thing that I want to get out there is that there is this very niche community of romance books and their authors who very much write for their own pleasure and for the pleasure of the few that read them, and I really do appreciate it because they're doing what they love. And it might be BDSM books, but it's what they love. So if Casey Cross ever sees this, hey girl, I really like Prince the robot. He's pretty cute. I like Lear's storyline. I think you should expand on that maybe some more, and maybe make Serpent less of a prick. Overall, pretty good. I mean, it's better than Hemingway. I'm gonna get my ass kicked by my mom if she ever heard me say that. Bye.